It was spectacular museum, like with a space component and air component. And first time in my life, I saw Concorde, and there were a lot of details about Concorde, right? That the guide explained. And the space museum was part of, they showed the space suits, the 14 layers, and the water, inside, how they live inside space, the air shuttle, how they are thrown up and throw satellites and come back like a plane. And this is Airbus IMAX theater. And I saw this the Blue Angels movie there. It was spectacular. How they are trained and prepared. They go through 5G tests, that sucks off their blood and they are almost fatigued and so on. So it was spectacular, like seeing this whole museum in Washington D.C. And yeah, this is I love, of course, being a lover of IMAX. It was the original, the big 1:4:3 aspect ratio. Probably they would be having a 70 mm projector in there. So it's spectacular. Yeah, the Airbus IMAX theater. And they have also released Avatar, so the most expected movie of this Christmas. Yeah, this is the Udvar Hazy Air National Museum in Washington D.C. And today, I'm in front of the Concorde, the Air France Concorde preserved in this museum. So this used to fly at one time. So this was a live thing. And then, as we know, the Concorde, I counted the windows. There are 30 between the cabins. There are 4 doors, and there are 21. And yeah, the important thing is we cannot see the entire thing, but there is a nose that used to, the famous tilting nose, the 12.5-degree tilting nose, because for takeoff and landing, the pilots must be able to see. And then, the delta wing, the famous delta wing, and the landing there, of course, 4 wheels on either side, 4 plus 4, 8 plus 2, 10 wheels total. And then the delta wing, had 13 tanks. And then 2 reasons why the Concorde disappeared was because of, crash near Paris immediately after it took off, because something hit the fuel tanks and it burst into flames and everybody died. So people said we will not take risk anymore. And the 9/11 attacks and the travel, it came down. And the price was too high, because in today's money, they said, it'll take about $8,000 or $10,000, because we used to fly double the speed of sound, which is called a Mach 2. So, 3 hours between London, New York, and Paris, London. And Air France and British Airways were the 2 biggest customers. They flew at some other routes, but they were fewer and far between intermittent or demonstration routes. But so the fantastic, Concorde. Unfortunately, we are unable to see the entire Concorde here, but yeah, I'm super excited, because I'm really seeing a real Concorde after many years after seeing them on TV and so on. This is the Stephen F. Udvar Hazy Museum in Washington D.C. And yeah, we just saw this is the welcome center and the gate. We just passed through that gate, and then what we see is this museum, and then the Boeing aviation hangar, and yeah. Oh, this is what is inside the hangar. So really look at these these different aircraft. Just now I had seen the IMAX movie. It was original 1.43 aspect IMAX. I suspect they would be having the 70 projector because this is the old Grand Theater GT IMAX format. And it was really fantastic seeing the Blue Angels. Blue Angels is, the special kind of US forces, probably who are trained in these formations and other aspects, apart from, of course, combat. So they were showing how, how they get trained and, how they are... what do you call that, mental training, and they are subjected to 5G and forces that are more than 1G, like in which 5G, in which their blood is drawn down from their head to the knees, like they have to withstand those kind of pressures and so on. And this is a museum, actually. If you really see the struts and the structural construct of the museum, that's various exhibits, and then there's a NASA oblique wing, and really museum is really fantastic. Lockheed Martin, because Lockheed Martin is a US defense contractor, making all kinds of these air equipments and aircrafts and air equipments. So this is, we go through the museum. It's a huge hangar, actually, and then so amazingly fantastic. I mean, these old kind of engines, and a lot of them, because these are air transport has been around for almost a century, and especially since the Second World War and after. The jet age started in the late 60s and 70s. And Washington is has a spectacular air and space museum. See a lot of these McDonald hangar and this kind of stuff. So Cessna is a small aircraft, I think, in handle the glass cockpit. I think you can get into the glass cockpit. Yeah, that's what his experience. So these are like the various kinds of aircraft, and we see this is like a. Recently, I was seeing the B-2 bomber in action, right? This from Northrop Grumman, and they flew 37 hours non-stop in their campaign, their latest campaign, right, during the summer. So this is the hangar, and these various kinds of aircraft and so on. So it's a very big hangar. Yeah, we're just walking through. She literally, as we're walking and talking, these are like, I don't know, they were used in the World War II or more, or after, or I don't know, or if they were used at all or not, but they're lying in this museum. So many collection, because America has the most advanced equipment. Just smaller containers next to the large. So many kinds of planes on display at this. I think I saw in London also, in this museum, that they have these aircraft kind of in display. The different kind of aircraft, like these kind of aircraft used to be their total steel polished kind of aircraft, right? Boeing. They displayed a Concorde as well. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. They said they had a copy of the Concorde. Yeah, it's a Concorde. The first time I'm seeing a Concorde. I mean, in London Heathrow Airport, they have the copy of the Concorde. One of the Concordes that's flew real time. So this is where we get to see Concorde really close. Boeing 707, the first Boeing jet, I mean, in the jet age.
And then you see all these instruments on the side. This is the flight engineer position. Today this job was done by computer, but in those days they had the most important dial they had to monitor was the skin temperature. you could not go above a designated sector of a sea of cooks. And the other thing is, this is when you put it sideways, not the ball comes out right at it.
This is just standing on the downside of the Concorde. Yeah. Yeah. This is how the downside of the Concorde looks like. And you know, the landing gear, the front landing gear here. I'm just pretty close to the front landing gear. Just there is a barricade, so I cannot really touch the landing gear. But yeah, remove before flight. The same, you know, pin is that is used in today's aviation is there. So yeah, this is the landing gear of the Concorde. Concorde flew up to 2003, and then there is an air crash that happened. Concorde used to be flown by only two airlines, British Airways and Air France. And you see these, you know, Delta wings. They are called the Delta wings, the huge Delta wings with about, I think, 13 fuel tanks or something. And you know, they had these huge, massive, you know, this wind in suction. And you see the undercarriage and underbelly of the Concorde. It's amazing, spectacular to see Concorde here, yeah.
And yet he all wants to fly. And an interesting story about this female Concorde pilot, a lady called Barbara Harmer. She started off her career.
So we are seeing a real Concorde that flew at one point of time. The engines and, you know, yeah. This is called a Delta wing, actually, the huge triangle kind of wing.
Eventually worked her way into one of the smaller airlines in the UK. And they got taken over.
This is Sikorsky.
When she got into British Airways,
Sikorsky. There's an Air France Concorde here. So lucky to be seeing the Concorde.
You can kind of achieve it in this industry, which is considered message. Now, unfortunately, Concorde is no longer flying. And there are two reasons for this, which are sort of interrelated. The main one was that on an Air France Concorde, taken off from Paris Charles de Gaulle, breathe from another airplane. And the wings from the sky ran over that route, and the tyres burst. Now, they had tyres burst before with absolutely unfortunately, this time, when the tyres burst, it set pressure when the fuel tanks are ruptured, fuel decarb, fire, just as the plane is leaving the ground.
Yeah, Concorde was because the plane took off immediately after taking from Paris because of a leak in the engine that was probably held because of something hit the engines probably from the ground. And that was the reason why Concorde was discontinued. Actually, it was so tragic. It used to guzzle a lot of fuel because the engines that were used were called Rolls-Royce and the Snecma Olympus 593. That's what is written here. Snecma and Rolls-Royce joint venture. And yeah, because and two reasons why the Concorde went out of is, of course, the accident. That was a major thing, the real accident in which people died and the whole thing collapsed. Just near after takeoff from Paris, if I'm right, yeah, because of something hit the fuel and fuel leak, and then it caught fire immediately. And second was a lessened travel demand after 9/11 attacks. So it was, I think, if I'm right, it was discontinued in 2003, end of something like that. So we are seeing the.
This is much smaller than the real thing can be. And they went supersonic over land, and there was no audible noise on the ground. How they did it is their own secret, obviously. However, none of the major engine manufacturers have chosen to work.
So this is the undercarriage, the two with four and 4/8 wheels, and then 2 wheels in the beginning, in the front. Really exciting to see the Concorde. And Yeah, this is the Air France Concorde that was once flying. Yeah, and the Concorde, some of the distinct features include, like, the nose usually tilts forward up to 12 and a half degrees something. It has different tilting points based on, because the cockpit is so high that when landing, the pilots have to really some of the exhibits here, so they have to see the when takeoff and landing, it becomes a difficulty. That's one of the reasons why Concorde has to be, it has to dip its nose in the sense. Yeah, these are the different helicopters again. And then yeah, so here you see the US Air Force plane, all these yeah, from here we see the whole Concorde, yeah, from in one frame sort of. It's because it's so long, can't really see the whole Concorde, yeah, but I'm trying to show it from a single frame. It's a absolutely fantastic, yeah, piece of history, because it's a fluid, what is known as the supersonic speed, that is the 2 Mach. Mach is the speed of sound, and then twice the speed of sound, kind of. You used to reach that speed, and when it takes off, it used to make so much noise that there were restrictions about flying the Concorde. And yeah, it is I'm at the Udvar in Washington DC, and this is the Concorde. First time in my life I'm seeing a Concorde. I was just seeing on the TV all the time, and the fantastic full view of the Concorde. And as you know, it was flowing in something known as a supersonic speed. It can reach speeds up to twice the speed of sound, which is called a Mach 2. And unfortunately, it has to be discontinued because there was an accident near Paris, and then the lessened traffic after the 9/11 attacks. It was discontinued in 2003 ending, if I'm right, if I remember the date correctly. But this is the Concorde in full. It has the dipping nose, the famous the nose that dips 12.5 degrees and then at 5 degrees. And when it used to take off, there is a lot of sound that they were only allowed over the ocean. So the sound, and it used to guzzle a lot of fuel. There were 13 tanks in what is known as the Delta Wing. 13 tanks, and guzzle a lot of fuel. Probably they said in today's, the price will be equivalent to $8,000 between New York and London. And it only used to fly between Paris, New York, and London, New York. There were occasionally some routes, but those were like experimental, not on a continuous basis. But these were super. I'm really super excited to see Concorde in real life. Actually, this flew once, so this was live once. Super exciting, yeah.
Very amazing. Very amazing report. Thank you.
Yeah, this is the total Concorde. I was able to see from, because it's very long, and what I'm seeing is actually it has 2 cabins. Cabins is the space between 2 bulkheads or 2 doors. As we see, it has 1 door over the Delta Wing and 1 at the back. So there are 4 doors actually. Yeah, 4 doors in total, and then 2 cabins divided into 2. Cabin is roughly the area between two divisions, basically. Yeah, it could be a bulkhead or between 2 doors or something like that. And how many, if I can count the number of windows, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 17 18 19 20 21 22 23 24 25 26 27 28 29 30 windows. The second one, the front cabin has back cabin has 30 windows, and the front cabin has 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 17 windows. Yeah, Air France Concorde, and in its full glory. And then you see the Delta Wing, you see the Rolls-Royce Necma Olympus engines, Olympus 593, and we see the engines, the air intake part, and then of course the landing gear. Landing gear is very important here, because what if a plane cannot take off or land, right? Because people miss that part very much. And then of course you have, I'm below the Concorde actually, so this is hello Concorde, right? This one's flew, so it was. And then this is the closest I can get to the front wheel landing gear. I cannot really touch it from here, but yeah, so we say hello again to the landing gear. This is probably the landing gear of. Is this yeah, the one behind it. Yeah, they are showing even the landing gear. They have kept it separately here, so as that we can see this in close. landing there, and tires are filled with nitrogen because they are inert and they will not inflammable, right? You see the Air France logo. The nose used to be tilting at 12.5 degrees and 5 degrees. Yeah, I'm seeing a way. One can see the total Concorde. They have put it in a very, I don't know, inside this you're not able to see the full Air France Concorde. Yeah, now I think I'm able to capture most of it. And then the famous Concorde's nose. Yeah, famous Concorde's nose. I'm trying to make it big. If you can see this from here, yeah, the nose. No, yeah, this is the famous Concorde's nose that used to dip 12.5. And the tail. Somehow I can see the total Concorde from here. Yeah. Yeah, this is the best I can get. This is the best view of the Concorde that I can get here. Yeah, from the nose to the tail. Air France Concorde preserved at the Udvar Hazy Museum, National Air Museum in Washington, D.C. Yeah, this is the Udvar Hazy Air National Museum in Washington, D.C. And today, I'm in front of the Concorde, the Air France Concorde preserved at this museum. So this used to fly at one time. So this was a live thing. And then, as we know, the Concorde, I counted the windows. There are 30 between the cabins. There are 4 doors, and there are 21. And yeah, the important thing is we cannot see the entire thing, but there is a nose that used to, the famous tilting nose, the 12.5-degree tilting nose, because for takeoff and landing, the pilots must be able to see. And then, the delta wing, the famous delta wing, and the landing there, of course, four wheels on either side, 4 plus 4, 8 plus 2, 10 wheels total. And then the delta wing, had 13 tanks. And then 2 reasons why the Concorde disappeared was because of, crash near Paris immediately after it took off, because something hit the fuel tanks and it burst into flames and everybody died. So people said we'll not take risk anymore. And the 9/11 attacks and the travel, it came down. And the price was too high, because in today's money, they said, it'll take about $8,000 or $10,000, because we used to fly double the speed of sound, which is called a Mach 2. So, 3 hours between London, New York, and Paris, London. And Air France and British Airways were the 2 biggest customers. They flew at some other routes, but they were fewer and far between intermittent or demonstration routes. But the fantastic, Concorde. Unfortunately, we are unable to see the entire Concorde here, but yeah, I'm super excited, because I'm really seeing a real Concorde after many years after seeing them on TV and so on.